What if I told you that you're already a philosopher? Seriously, you might picture, dusty old books or endless debates about things that don't matter, but the truth is, you're doing philosophy every single day. You just might not call it that, yet. Okay, let's be honest. Philosophy has a bit of a reputation problem, right? It's often written off as this totally useless ivory tower exercise with no connection to the real world. But what if that's completely backward? What if philosophy is actually one of the most practical tools you have for living your life?
This whole idea comes from our source for this explainer, Rolf Barton Perry's The Approach to Philosophy. And his key insight is this: philosophy isn't something you learn from scratch. It's something that needs to be awakened inside you. Perry's whole goal is to make you aware of the philosopher that's already there.
So how does this actually work? Well, it all starts with what you might call the accidental philosopher. See, the journey doesn't begin in some fancy classroom. It begins with the simple, messy reality of just being alive. Just think about it for a second. Every single choice you make, from what you eat for breakfast to your career path, it all starts with a thought, a belief. As Perry puts it, all our actions come from reflection. We're all constantly turning our ideas into reality, whether we're conscious of it or not. Let's just trace that path for a moment. Most of our days are spent thinking about the means to an end, right? How do I get that promotion? How do I fix this? But every once in a while, a much bigger question sneaks in. We stop asking how, and we start asking why. Why do I even want this promotion in the first place? That moment, that little shift from how to why, well, that's the starting gun for philosophy. And that leads us straight to one of the most fundamental questions there is. What is your life's purpose? And this isn't just some abstract thing to ponder. This is where philosophy gets deeply personal and incredibly practical.
Now, here's the really fascinating part. Whatever you decide your life's ideal is, that choice isn't just about you. It's also a statement about what you believe the entire universe is like. It reveals a hidden assumption you have about the fundamental nature of reality itself. Perry gives us a couple of great examples to show how this works. Take the devotee. Their whole purpose is to serve a higher power. That life choice assumes that the universe is fundamentally spiritual. But then you've got the man of affairs. His purpose is all about tangible, real-world success. That implies a belief that the universe is a place that rewards practical effort. You see, two totally different life goals springing from two completely different ideas about how the world works. And this gets right to the heart of it. To really, truly justify your life's purpose, you would need to have true knowledge of the entire universe. That just goes to show you that choosing a purpose for your life is, by its very nature, a philosophical act. So if our personal choices are tied to these giant worldviews, what are the options? Well, this is where philosophers have spent thousands of years trying to draw these big maps of reality.
One of the biggest maps out there is naturalism. You can think of this as the worldview of science. It says that at the very bottom of it all, the universe is just matter and energy, doing its thing according to cold, impersonal laws.
And this quote, which Perry uses, really drives home the chilling implications of that view. If we are just a brief, accidental flash of consciousness in a material universe, then eventually that consciousness just ends. Matter goes back to being just matter, totally unaware of itself. It's a really powerful and sobering thought. But there's a completely different map you could use: absolute idealism. This view flips naturalism on its head. It argues that the ultimate reality isn't matter at all. It's a universal mind or spirit. And our own individual consciousness, in this view, is just a small piece of that cosmic whole. Okay, so we have these two totally opposite maps of reality: naturalism and idealism. How in the world are we supposed to decide which one is right? Well, this is where philosophers start breaking the problem down into a few really fundamental questions.
This one question, how can we know, is what gives birth to the major branches of philosophy. Because, it's one thing to have a belief about the world, but it's another thing entirely to know if that belief is actually true.
So first, you have metaphysics. This is the branch that asks the biggest question of all: what is ultimately real? Is the universe made of physical stuff, or is it made of thought? Metaphysics is basically the search for the fundamental building blocks of everything that exists. But as soon as you ask that, it leads to an even trickier question. And that's where the second branch, epistemology, comes in. Before you can say what's real, you have to figure out how you could possibly know what's real in the first place. Epistemology is the study of knowledge itself, how we get it, what its limits are, and how reliable it is. And all of this brings us right back to where we started. This isn't just some abstract game.
Thinking this way has profound, real-world value for your life. Here's what makes philosophy so unique. While pretty much every other field specializes, becoming an expert on one tiny piece of the puzzle, philosophy is the one discipline that tries to put all those pieces together. Its entire job is to try and see the whole picture.
So, what's the big takeaway here? The power of philosophy is deeply personal. It helps you uncover the hidden beliefs that are already running your life. It forces you to get crystal clear on what you're really living for. It gives you a toolkit for critical thinking. And maybe most importantly, it connects you to the biggest, most meaningful questions we can ask as human beings.
So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Every choice you make, every goal you chase, every single day you live, it's all part of an argument. Your life itself is making a case. The only question is, do you know what it's arguing for?